Okay, so here we are at the blacksmith forge. This is for the crafting station for the finishing. Now you have three different types of crafting stations. You got a finishing station, a refining station, which I think in the name will say shaping for most of the crafting types, and then you have an assembly station, and that's where once you have created something in its individual pieces and it needs to be put together, you go to the assembly station and you assemble it together. I believe making the boats, I know for sure, uses the assembly station. I haven't done a lot of crafting in the other areas, so I'm not sure if the other crafting types will use the assembly station. But to complete your work order, you walk up to the station, right click on it, and since we're doing work orders, we're going to select one of my work orders, and it'll tell you in the description what you're going to need. Optional ingredients: if you want to use your own crafting resources, you can, but since it's a work order, they give it to you automatically. It tells you what utilities you're going to need and what tools. So I always open up my tool belt and make sure that I got the tools that it says it wants us to use, and it's wanting a stoker and a hammer, and I got both of those, so we're good to go. And we're going to click begin. Select the oil I need, and if you want to, you can have it auto set up and it'll automatically select everything that you need. Now over here under other options, this won't be selected by the auto setup tool. This is stuff that you may need when a complication arises. And each crafting type has its own list of things that you can put on here, and currently at my level I can have 4 things total selected, and that in later levels starts to get tricky because you'll have to, when you're making your own personal stuff, you'll have a lot more stuff that's dedicated to slots, and you won't have as much for these optional things, so you have to try and guess what type of complications you may have, and that can be a little tricky. So here I'm going to use the sheet that they gave me instead of my own crafting components. That's successfully completed, and you see over here you got what grade the item is. You want to try to get as much of a grade A as possible, and if you fill the bar all the way up to the top of the grade A, that'll be the best item that you can make. And over here on the right is your bar showing how many points you have left. I got a total of 2,000 points to use to complete this crafting process. And you see over here, this is broken down into 2 different abilities that I have, and they have different point costs. You can see that this one is going to progress the crafting a moderate amount and cost me 75 points, and this one will progress it high and cost 100 points. Since neither one of these increases the quality much, I'm just going to go ahead and blaze through it. And you see over here, it shows you how much it advanced. When that bar fills all the way over to the right, that process will be finished, and it'll go down to the next area. So you can use that to judge whether or not you want to use a high or a moderate. And see, now that one, I'm almost finished. Don't really need to use a high. And look, I learned a new ability, which gives me a low, which is exactly what I need because I don't have very much more to go. So I'll use the low. Now this one I have 2 options that I can use to progress. I got one that's going to progress and increase quality. And this one has this is a tools section, so it's telling me what type of tool I need to have in my bag. If I didn't have that hammer and stoker in my crafting belt, I wouldn't be able to complete this at all, and the whole process would be wasted. I just have to cancel. And this is a utility section that using the consumables, like I mentioned, in this case oil. And I'm going to use that first. I want to increase the quality some. And that one just increases quality. Oh, I got a complication. And mousing over that will show that it gives an effectiveness penalty of a moderate degree, and it's going to last for 5 turns. So I want to get rid of that. So I click on it, and it shows me I have one thing I can do to get rid of it, and I need a hammer to use this ability, and it's going to reduce the complication a moderate amount and cost 35 points. It took out a little chunk of the bar, so let's do it again. Almost. One more time. Oh, and this is a dreaded quality penalty. If you're really trying to get as high of a quality as you can, you see this, if you don't get rid of any other complications, and there are some complications that you can leave on the screen that won't impact you too much, this is one that you want to get rid of, because every time you do something, it'll take away from your quality, and you'll have a piece of crap item in no time if you don't get rid of it. And to use this one, I have to have a stoker. It's going to get rid of it a moderate amount again and cost me 35 points. And you see, it dropped down the quality just a little bit. That's why you don't want it on. Now as you're crafting, you see I'm down to 325 points. I'm almost finished on this one, on the tool, and I'm almost finished on the utility. This last section is just to finish it. Every work order will have this on there, and it'll have a couple of different amounts of points that you can spend on it. 100 points will complete it and keep whatever quality level you're at. And that's what you mainly want to use. The other ones will cost less points but will degrade some of the quality, and you only want to use that if you end up not having enough points. So you want to try to keep at least 100 points in your pool by the time you finish all of the other sections. And see, I just screwed up and only have 75 points. So I'm not going to be able to keep my quality at grade B where it's at. I'm going to have to use this one, which isn't going to cost me any points, but it's going to take a moderate loss in quality. and I completed it, and instead of a grade B I got a grade C. Not bad, but not great. And I would complete that process until I complete all my work orders and go turn it in. And depending on what overall quality of all the items, since I'm doing a batch, all 5 items end up being, will determine what my rewards are when I turn it in. And I think that's about it for this video. And we'll go into more depth over the rest of the stuff during the normal podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informational, and excuse my noobness on making videos. I'll hopefully get better at this as we go on, and I'll see you next time.